This is happening right now in the heart of Jerusalem. This is unfolding even as you listen, and the words you are about to hear will send a chill through your bones. At precisely 3:33 in the afternoon today, a renowned rabbi stepped before a sea of witnesses in the very center of the holy city and issued a declaration that is rippling through the spiritual world. He said that a sign would appear at sunset. My friend, thousands are forming streams of humanity at this very hour. Cameras are lifted toward the heavens, and the mainstream outlets remain silent. But there are things they are not saying out loud. Can you imagine the pulse in the streets right now? Can you feel the heavy hush of anticipation? People are leaving desks and markets and living rooms. Walking away from ordinary routines as if summoned, moving toward one place with one expectation. Why? What knowledge are they acting upon that the rest of us have not yet grasped? The time was not vague. It was exact. 3:33, the rabbi did not toss out a number like a coin. He named a pattern. In the language of sacred numbers, 3 speaks of divine fullness. But 333 resounds like the voice of the Trinity 3 times, completion layered upon completion, a chord of perfection ringing through the hours. And he named the moment of appearing, sunset. Do you know what sunset means in Jerusalem? Not merely the closing of a day, but the arrival of a new one. In the rhythms of Jewish life, the evening begins the next cycle. The old recedes, the new breaks in. Do you see the weight of that timing? It is not random. It is a hinge. Right now the flow of people is rising along the Mount of Olives. The Western Wall Plaza fills like a well. Rooftops across the old city carry silhouettes of watchers. Every gaze is drawn westward, waiting. Here is why my own heart is racing. This is not the first time the holy city has been held in a pause like this. Across the centuries, when voices of spiritual authority in Jerusalem have spoken with such clarity, events of deep consequence have followed. Announcements like this have cracked the surface of history and let something bright through. Something that alters the page we are on. And just before he named the time, the rabbi spoke words drawn from the oldest sources. He quoted something ancient, something that has echoed down corridors of time for millennia. When those words were spoken, men who had seen war and age wept like sons, and women sank to their knees and covered their faces in prayer. What words hold such power? What breath from antiquity can do that? The air here is a wire pulled tight. You could cut the tension with a knife. Guides have lifted their hands and stilled their tours. Shopkeepers have walked away from counters and unlatched their doors. Orthodox Jews and Christians and Muslims share a single horizon, standing shoulder to shoulder for a moment. Watching the same sky, waiting for the same hour. Stay with me through every beat of this, because I am going to walk you clearly through what is happening, and why this moment could mark the most important spiritual flash of our generation. Can you hear the undertone? Can you sense it? Something is shifting in the invisible as surely as the wind shifts through cypress boughs. Jerusalem, the city where the earth has repeatedly brushed against heaven, is once again the stage for something that pulls us all forward. The question is not whether something will happen at sunset. The real question is whether you are ready to understand what it means. If you think this is only about Jerusalem, then your map is too small. This is a signal with a global arc. It reaches your street and your breath and your prayers tonight, wherever you are. Now listen to what the rabbi read, because here the ground opens. He unrolled an ancient scroll and spoke the words of Joel, chapter 2, verses 30 and 31. I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and billows of smoke, the sun turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. Can you feel the weight in that? This is not a verse pulled at random. Joel angled his face toward the last days, toward signs written across the sky, toward celestial events that would herald a monumental move of God. In the Hebrew, the word for wonders speaks of marvels and prophetic portents, signs that lean toward divine intervention, markers that point. And then the rabbi did something that tightened the thread even further. He linked the prophet to the Messiah. He turned to the words of Jesus in Matthew, chapter 24, verses 29 and 30. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light, the stars will fall from the sky and the heavenly bodies will be shaken, then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. Do you see the line? The testimony of the old joined to the promise of the new. And where did Jesus speak those words? He spoke them on the Mount of Olives, the very ridge where thousands now gather, the same slopes, the same city, the same boundless sky. Feel the gravity of that alignment. Jerusalem has forever been the stage where God writes with the largest letters. Abraham was tested here. David set his throne here. Solomon raised the temple here. Jesus bore his cross here. And the prophets made it plain that the end of the age would find Jerusalem in the center again. Zechariah, chapter 14, verse 4, says this. On that day, his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives, east of Jerusalem. On which day? The day of his return, when heaven steps across the threshold and touches earth once more. If you want more eyes to meet this message, if you feel it should be heard, press like now, not as a gesture of trend, but to carry the signal further. Let the light travel. Then came words from the Rabbi that sent another shiver through the crowd. He said that what happened at 3:33 was a divine timestamp, a marker, a seal. Consider the hours on the hill called Skull. The time the Gospels describe for the death of Jesus. Around the 9th hour, about 3 in the afternoon, the veil of the temple torn from top to bottom. Timing matters to God. Numbers matter to God. Signs matter to God. In the first chapter of Genesis, verse 14, God speaks of lights set in the vault of the sky to divide day and night, and to serve as signs and to mark sacred times and days and years. Did you hear that? The sun and moon and stars were not only given for light, but to bear messages and to mark appointed moments. And here, in this city, at a precise hour, a rabbi declares that a sign will appear as the sun goes to the rim. But understand this clearly. The meaning is not contained in a single evening. It belongs to a pattern, a divine cadence unfolding from Genesis onward. We are living in a chapter where the threads converge. Do you feel the weight? The sense that we are not spectators of history but actors in prophecy. The next part of this story will show you something that shifts how you see everything moving around you. Do not drift away. Let me take you beneath the surface because this rises beyond one voice and one sunset. This is about a convergence long watched by careful scholars and prayerful hearts. In Scripture the heavens have often spoken before turning points. Always, the sky has been a canvas for God's handwriting. When Moses led Israel out of Egypt, God set a pillar of cloud by day and fire by night, signs overhead that guided a nation through an ocean of sand. When Joshua commanded the sun to hold its course over Gibeon, creation obeyed, a sign that the one who made the orbits could still them. When Jesus was born, a star rose like a summons and drew wise men from the east across deserts and mountains to kneel at a manger. Signals in the sky have forever opened roads on earth, but in our generation something peculiar and urgent is happening. We are witnessing a convergence of signals, multiple layers, fast succession, sign folded upon sign, a crescendo not seen in the record of ages. In recent years alone, Jerusalem has watched rare lunar eclipses bloom red on feast days, not on anonymous dates but on Passover and the Feast of Tabernacles. There have been unusual astrological alignments that sober astronomers logged and could not fully account for. There have been strange atmospheric displays filmed above the Temple Mount. There have been paths of solar eclipses whose geometry seemed to draw lines of meaning over maps. And now a rabbi, stirred by something beyond human calculation, names exactly 3:33 and declares a sign at sunset. Do you recognize the acceleration? Do you sense the urgency like a drumbeat growing closer? In Luke, chapter 21, verses 25 through 28, Jesus said that there would be signs in sun and moon and stars, and that on the earth nations would be anxious and perplexed at the roar and toss of the sea, that people would faint from fear at what is coming upon the world, for the powers in the heavens would be shaken. And that at that time the Son of Man would be seen coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Then he said, when these things begin to happen, stand up and lift your heads, for your redemption is drawing near. When they begin. Hear that word. We are not reaching forward for a day when signs will begin. They have already begun. They are multiplying. The question is no longer whether there are signals, but whether we are awake. Let me show you a passage that will make you catch your breath. In Daniel, chapter 12, verse 4, the prophet was told to seal the words of the scroll until the time of the end, when many would run to and fro and knowledge would increase. In the Hebrew the phrases speak of people moving rapidly, searching intensely, and of wisdom multiplying. Does that sound like this century? Does that sound like this very week? We crisscross the globe in hours, we transmit thought in flashes, knowledge expands like a tide. What is happening in Jerusalem at 3:33 can traverse continents to illuminated screens in moments. For the first time in human story, a prophetic sign can be seen by millions in real time. But here is a foundation stone. The prophet Amos, chapter 3, verse 7, says that the sovereign Lord does nothing without revealing his plan to his servants the prophets. God does not move behind a curtain. He speaks. He signals. He prepares. So when a rabbi in the city of David, a man immersed in ancient texts, stands and names a sign and a time, our posture should be attention. This is not random. This is not coincidence. This is a choreography written by a divine hand. Here is what I want you to do. In the comments write the words I am watching. Let us mark how many hearts are awake in this hour, how many eyes are lifted. Joel says that in the last days the Spirit would be poured out. That sons and daughters would prophesy, that the old would dream again, that the young would see visions. Peter said the first flash of that promise appeared in Jerusalem, on a day of Pentecost when fire touched foreheads and languages broke open with praise. The same city that is gathered again tonight. Do you see the thread? Do you feel the echo that runs like a seam from then to now? History does not merely repeat, it answers itself, it rhymes in a higher octave, it builds. Consider the timeline and really let it sink in. For nearly 2,000 years Jerusalem was trampled underfoot by other nations, exactly as Jesus said in Luke, chapter 21, verse 24, that the city would be trampled by the Gentiles until their time was complete. Empires rose and took the keys. The Romans shattered it. The Byzantines directed it. The Islamic caliphates conquered it. Crusaders bled over it. The Ottomans ruled it. The British administered it. Then, in 1967, in days that astonished military analysts, Jerusalem returned to Jewish hands after 1,897 years. Soldiers touched their foreheads to the Western Wall and wept. The shofar sounded. The chief rabbi of the defense forces, Shlomo Goren, lifted a proclamation and said that the city of God had been taken and that a messianic era had opened. Was that coincidence? Or was that the unfolding of a script written in prophetic ink? Then look again at Ezekiel, chapter 37, the valley of dry bones. God promised to gather his people from scattered nations and bring them home. For generations this appeared impossible. The Jewish people were dispersed across every compass point. But in 1948, after almost 2 millennia, Israel became a nation in a single day. Isaiah, chapter 66, verse 8, asks, "Who has ever heard of such a thing? Can a country be born in a day? Can a nation be brought forth in a moment?" And yet it happened. Then came the reunification of Jerusalem in 1967. Then came the series of blood moons on feast days in 2014 and 2015. Then the formal moves recognizing Jerusalem in 2018. Then new accords and improbable peace in 2020. And now the voice of a rabbi naming a sign at sunset in 2025. Do you see the swift steps? Do you see the pattern? We are not only reading prophecy. We are breathing inside it. In Revelation, chapter 12, verses 1 and 2, John writes of a great sign in the heavens, of a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet and a crown of 12 stars on her head, crying out with the pangs of birth. Scholars have studied particular astronomical alignments that mirror this imagery in our age. Birth pangs, Jesus called them in Matthew, chapter 24, verse 8. He said that after the list of upheavals and warnings, all these were the beginning of labor. Labor does not slow. Contractions grow closer and stronger until the birth breaks through. Right now the contractions in the spiritual atmosphere are tightening. Jerusalem stands as the epicenter yet again. The place where calls from heaven have so often crossed our skin. Think of what the city holds. Abraham's test. David's dance before the ark. Solomon's dedication of the temple with clouds of glory filling the courts. Isaiah's vision of a throne high and lifted up. The crucifixion, the burial, the resurrection. The descent of the Spirit at Pentecost like a wind. And Zechariah's promise that the feet of the Messiah will touch the Mount of Olives again. The same mount where the hillside is filling with people tonight, eyes fixed on the west, waiting for the sign. Can you feel the swelling? Can you perceive that these are not ordinary hours? Can you hear in your spirit the approaching footsteps? These are the days that ancient hearts long to witness. Jesus said that Abraham rejoiced to see his day, and he saw it and was glad. The prophets searched with intensity to grasp the timing of these things. Angels themselves watch with a kind of awe. And you, right now, are living in the stream of this unfolding. The psalmist wrote in the 102nd Psalm, verses 13 through 16, that the time to show favor to Zion would come. That the appointed time would arrive, that nations would fear the name of the Lord, that kings would recognize his glory, and that the Lord would rebuild Zion and appear in his glory. The appointed time. Mark that phrase. Appointed. Not accidental. Not approximate. When the rabbi spoke at 3:33 and pointed to sunset, he was not relying on personal brilliance. He was echoing something older. A schedule written into the stars and the scrolls and stitched into the hours of creation. What will you do with this? How will this change the way you hold your life? Will you hear and simply move on? Or will you wake and step into the current of what God is doing? Jeremiah, chapter 33. Verse 3, says that if we call to God, he will answer, he will show great and unsearchable things, things we do not yet know. Hidden things. And those things are being shown to those who incline their ear. So what does this mean for your home and your work and your children and your faith right now? Here is the truth that should light a fire under your feet. If signs are stirring in Jerusalem, if prophecies are finding their places, if leaders are speaking in divine timestamps, if the heavens are voicing messages, then we are closer to the return of Christ than any generation has been. That should snap how we live into focus. Not tomorrow. Not when it is easier. Today, Jesus asked in Luke. Chapter 18, verse 8, when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on the earth? Not cultural habit. Not empty motion. Not a rhythm of ritual without heat. Faith that breathes and expects and transforms. Will he find that glow in you? Let me turn the questions inward. While the rabbi and crowds in Jerusalem watched the sky with expectancy, what holds your attention? Where is your gaze? What fills your thoughts? Is it the stack of numbers in a ledger? Is it the angle of your career? Is it the swell of social attention? Is it entertainment? Is it comfort? Is it safety? I do not ask to shame you. I ask to wake you. We cannot afford spiritual sleep. The alarm is sounding. The minutes are sliding toward the edge. The night is deep but it is thinning and the day is almost here. Paul wrote with urgency in Romans, chapter 13, verses 11 and 12, that the hour has come to wake from sleep because our salvation is nearer now than when we believed, that the night is nearly over, that the day is almost here, and that we should put aside the works of darkness and put on the armor of light. If it was nearer then, how near is it now? If the dawn was close, how close is it in this present breath? the Rabbi understands something that many in the comfortable West have forgotten. We serve a God who speaks through signs, who stamps time with meaning, who numbers our days, who arranges seasons and appointments. Who does not act without revealing his plan to his servants. If he is revealing a sign in Jerusalem, what is he revealing to you in your own life? What is God showing your spirit that busyness has hidden? What is he saying that the noise has drowned? Here is my challenge, and I do not call it small. Do not treat this message as a spectacle. Do not file it under interesting. Let the words become a turning in your steps. If you have been standing with 1 foot on the road of the kingdom and 1 foot on the road of the world, if you have been lukewarm, singing without surrender, praying without believing, distracted by 1,000 lights, then hear this as a call to return to your first love. Revelation, chapter 3, verse 20, promises that Jesus stands at the door and knocks, that if anyone hears his voice and opens, he will enter and sit at the table with them. He is knocking. Can you hear the echo in your chest? Will you open? When the sign appears at sunset in Jerusalem, whether it is a celestial pattern that scientists can chart, a spiritual manifestation that cameras frame, an atmospheric wonder that challenges explanation, or something that outstrips language altogether, it will not be merely a sign for those standing in the stone courtyards of the holy city. It will be a sign for anyone with eyes to see and ears to hear. Jesus said in Matthew, chapter 24, verse 30, that the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, and that all peoples will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds with power and great glory. All peoples. Every nation. Every tongue. Are you ready for that moment? Truly ready. If you want to receive each new insight and every update on what God is unfolding in these days, subscribe to this channel and set your notifications, not for the sake of count, but to stay awake in an hour when moments matter. Events are accelerating. Signs are multiplying. Do not let a single word that keeps you ready slip past you. Here is a truth that may prick, but it comes with love. In Matthew, chapter 25, Jesus told of 10 virgins who waited for the bridegroom. All had lamps, all grew drowsy, all slept, but when the midnight cry rang, only 5 were ready, only 5 had oil. They entered the celebration. The other 5 were left outside knocking. The door opened to a sentence that chills blood. I do not know you. They had lamps. They had the look of readiness. But they lacked preparation. Which company are you in? The sign at sunset is more than marvel. It is a mirror held against the church. It will show who is alert, who is ready, who is attentive. In 1 Thessalonians, chapter 5, verses 2 through 6, Paul warns that the day of the Lord will come like a thief in the night, that while people speak of peace and safety, sudden destruction will come upon them as labor pains come upon a woman, and they will not escape. But he says that we are not in darkness, that this day should not surprise us like a thief, that we are children of light and of day, and that we must not sleep as others do. But be awake and sober. Let us be awake. Let us be steady. Let us be ready. I want to leave an ember glowing in your heart long after this ends. In Habakkuk, chapter 2, verses 1 through 3, the prophet says that he will take his stand on the rampart and watch to see what God will say, and the Lord replies, write the revelation, make it plain, so that a herald may run, because the vision awaits an appointed time, it speaks of the end and will not prove false, though it linger wait for it, it will certainly come and will not delay. Appointed time. Certain arrival. The Rabbi has marked an hour on a clock inside a city that has always been a watchtower, whether you stand tonight in Jerusalem or New York or London or Tokyo or in a village whose name only God knows. The question that matters does not belong to geography. When the ultimate sign appears, when the sky splits and the king returns and every eye sees him, will you be ready? Will you be awake? Will your lamp burn? Will your oil be full? Will your garments be clean? Will your name be set in the book of life? Will you hear well done good and faithful servant, or will you hear words that break the heart? The sun is setting on this age. The night grows thick. But for those who watch, for those who prepare, for those whose eyes are fixed on the eastern sky, a new day waits on the rim. The brightest day, the day when justice breathes, when tears are wiped away, when death is swallowed up in victory. When we see him face to face. Choose the right side of eternity now. This is not theater. This is the collision of reality with time. This is the kingdom coming through the kingdoms of the world. Are you ready? Truly ready? Have you surrendered everything to him? Have you made him Lord and not merely a comfort? Are you living for his glory or are you polishing your own? Are you building his kingdom or stacking stones for your own name? The sunset is moving toward Jerusalem and toward the world, and the sign will appear. Your response to this moment will change the shape of your forever. Do not let the hour slip you by. Do not ignore the signals. Do not hit snooze on the alarm sounding in your soul. Do not say tomorrow when God is saying today. Hebrews, chapter 3, verse 15, says that today if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. Today. Not later. Today, the Rabbi is watching the sky. Thousands have gathered with expectation. Angels watch from the balconies of heaven. God is moving. Prophecy is unfolding. History is reaching a crest. And you stand at a choice. Will you wake? Will you yield? Will you prepare? Will you be ready when he comes? The sign will arrive at sunset, but the greater sign will come, and it will split the sky and pour glory through it, and nothing will ever be the same. The sign is not meant to entertain. It is meant to awaken. It is a trumpet to rouse sleepers, a bell that rings across rooftops and alleys and living rooms. You can feel it in the way conversations hush and faces tilt toward the horizon. You can feel it in the rustle of prayer shawls and in the quiet resolve in the eyes of mothers and fathers guiding their children through the crowd. You can feel it in the way strangers become neighbors for an hour, sharing water and space and a single expectation. Sunset is more than color on stone. Sunset is the threshold of a new count, the moment the page turns in the calendar of heaven. Jerusalem understands this. The city breathes with it. If you could stand among the olive trees right now, you would feel the ground carry a hum like a subtle chord beneath your feet. You would hear the murmur of psalms under the breath of the faithful. You would catch the glow of phones held like tiny lanterns against the coming night, not to scroll away the moment, but to witness and to remember. You would sense memory here, the layered memory of a people and a place, the memory of altars and kings and prophets and tears and laughter and promises. It is as if every earlier sunset is standing behind this one, lending it weight. Think of the pattern again. The God who set lights in the heavens to mark sacred times has not changed. The one who wove meaning into days and years has not grown mute. He is speaking in the rhythm of appointed hours. The 9th hour when the veil tore. The morning when the stone rolled away. The day of Pentecost when the Spirit fell. The appointed times did not end with the last page of the book. They continue, and sometimes a rabbi lifts his voice at 3:33 and points to the next one. Sometimes a city holds its breath, and the world looks up. You do not have to be in Jerusalem to answer this hour. You can answer from your kitchen table or your office or the back seat of a car moving slowly in traffic. You can answer from a hospital room or a boarding gate or a quiet bedroom with curtains drawn. You answer by lifting your head, by turning your heart. By letting go of what cannot save you, by fastening your attention on the one who can. You answer by emptying your hands of lesser gods and making room for the oil that never runs dry. You answer by believing that signs are not accidents, that history is not a loose scatter of events, that your life is not a string of isolated days, but a story with purpose. You answer by choosing to be ready. Readiness is not panic. Readiness is not fear. Readiness is clarity. It is repentance that reaches into the choices you make when no one is watching. It is love that interrupts self with compassion. It is forgiveness that refuses to keep score. It is prayer that becomes as natural as breathing. It is scripture not as a slogan but as bread. It is holiness that does not posture, humility that does not advertise itself, courage that does not roar to be noticed. It is oil in the lamp and a wick trimmed for light. There will always be those who shrug and say that signs have always come and gone. There will always be those who scoff until the sky opens. There will always be those who cling to noise so they do not have to hear the whisper of God. Do not join that chorus. Join the company of the watchers. Join the men and women who have learned to stand at their post and keep their eyes clear. Join Abraham who looked for a city whose builder is God. Join David who danced before the presence of God with a heart unashamed. Join Isaiah who said, "Here am I, send me." Join the disciples who lifted their eyes as the cloud received their Lord and who waited until the promise fell on them like fire. If you are weary, if cynicism has put a film over your hope, if disappointment has taught you the wrong lessons, hear this. God has not forgotten his appointments. God has not mislaid his promises. God has not lost track of you. The same hand that traced the paths of the constellations has traced the days of your life. The same voice that spoke light into the first dawn can speak light into your present night. The same spirit that hovered over waters hovers over your chaos, ready to create, ready to heal, ready to send you running with good news on your tongue. The sign at sunset will not be the end of anything for those who are awake. It will be the beginning of a new seriousness, a new tenderness, a new obedience. It will be the moment a line is drawn inside you, a line you refuse to step back across. It will be the start of prayers you have meant to pray for years. It will be the call you make to reconcile what you allowed to fracture. It will be the apology you offer, the generosity you practice, the secret act of service you choose with no camera to capture it. It will be the day you decide to fast from the distractions that have thinned your soul. It will be the day you choose to gather your household and bless them with your hands on their heads. It will be the day you decide to live as if the King is at the door, because he is. Look again at the thread through the centuries. A nation born in a day. A city restored against every prediction. Feasts marked by eclipses and moons stained with the color of wine. Agreements signed that reshaped maps. A generation that moves faster than any before it, carrying eyes and ears in the palms of their hands. A rabbi who names an hour and points to a sky that has told the truth since God first spread it like a tent over the world. This is not random. This is not a puzzle of unrelated pieces. This is the convergence the prophets perceived in outline, now taking substance, if your heart is beating faster. Do not push that feeling away. That is the sound of your soul waking. That is the sound of armor fastening into place. That is the sound of steps turning toward the narrow road. Do not trade it for sleep. Do not trade it for cynicism. Do not trade it for another hour of empty entertainment that leaves you hungrier than you started. Let the hunger find what it was made for. Let the thirst drink. The wise will lift their heads as the sky deepens and the first star pricks through the blue. The wise will remember that the one who comes like a thief does not come to steal joy, but to restore it. The wise will fill their lamps and keep watch. The wise will not waste the hour. There is a kindness even in the warning. The kindness of time to prepare. The kindness of a door not yet closed. The kindness of a voice that still knocks. The kindness of a city that gathers and points the rest of us to the horizon. Let that kindness lead you to change. Let it lead you to the feet of the one who knows your name. If you are young, do not say that readiness is for the old. If you are old, do not say that zeal is for the young. If you are strong, use your strength for service. If you are weak, bring your weakness and find grace enough for today. If you are successful, lay your crowns at his feet. If you are broken, lift your fragments and watch him make them sing. There is room for you in this hour. There is a place on the wall with your name written on it. You are not late. You are not disqualified. You are not unseen. You are invited. You are summoned by the same voice that called fishermen from their boats and a tax collector from his table and a persecutor from his fury. You are summoned by the same love that walked dusty roads and washed tired feet and stretched out on a cross as the veil tore and the rocks split and the earth shook. You are summoned by the same power that rolled back a stone and lit a dawn that has never dimmed. Lift your eyes with Jerusalem. Let the city teach you to watch. Let the psalms teach you to sing. Let the prophets teach you to hope. Let the gospel teach you to live ready. Let the Spirit teach you to listen and to move when He whispers. Let the hours teach you that sunset is not loss, it is promise, it is the beginning of a new day. When the sign appears, do not argue with it. A sign does not demand debate, it demands response. Respond with worship. Respond with surrender. Respond with the simple and profound prayer of your whole life offered back to the one who gave it. Respond with faith that translates into steps. Respond with joy that does not depend on news cycles and markets and headlines, but on a kingdom that cannot be shaken. And when the night follows and the city grows quiet and people return to their homes, do not let the awe fade. Carry it into your morning. Carry it to your work. Carry it into the way you speak to those who test your patience. Carry it into the secret places where only God can see. Carry it into the way you spend your money and your time and your words. Let the sign at sunset write a sentence over your life. Let it read readiness. The hour will come when the greater sign fills the sky from horizon to horizon. Every eye will see. Every argument will collapse into silence. Every knee will bend. Every heart will know. On that day there will be one measure that matters. Did you know Him? Not did you collect information about Him, not did you master arguments about Him, but did you love Him, did you yield to Him, did you walk with Him? Let that day inform this one. Let the future shape the present. Live now so that the voice you hear then is the voice that says well done. Jerusalem is watching. Heaven is watching. Your children are watching. Your own soul is watching you choose. Choose the narrow road that leads to life. Choose the lamp and the oil. Choose the door that is open now. Choose the King. This is happening right now in the heart of Jerusalem, and it touches you where you sit. The Rabbi has spoken. The hour is marked. The sign will appear at sunset. Let your answer be yes. Let your life be light. Let your heart be ready.